Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me, as always, is new Mike-L, Kevin Jank.
I'm here, Mike-L, and I've told you once, and I've told you a million times, I will not marry you. I've got too many enemies, and they're going to come after you, so we can't get married.
Yes. You and your damn cop-outs.
Yep.
But, again, Superman's the worst. He's the worst. But today, we're reading a Superman comic. Tell the kids what we're doing here, Jay.
Today we're going to be reading Superman number 335 from 1979.
And why are we reading this one? Who's the villain?
Mr. Mxyzptlk. I did my research. According to the 90s cartoon show, at least that's how you say it.
Yeah, this is a little impish fellow from the Fifth Dimension who comes into our reality and causes trouble for Superman. And when I was a kid, I swear he was called like Mr. Mxyzptlk or something like that.
Yeah, I've definitely heard people pronounce it that way. It kind of does look like that should be how it's said with all, it's got basically no pure vowels. It's just got the one Y. So I don't know.
Yeah, but then you found you're a fan of the cartoon version with Gilbert Gottfried doing the voice, and you sent me a little video where the little character during one of the episodes breaks down his name into 4 distinct parts: mix, yes, spit, lick. So,
yep.
Mxyzptlk.
That makes it easy. Yeah, they did it phonetically and came up with little words for each part. So I like that.
Yeah, because here's how it's spelled: Mxyzptlk.
Rolls right off the tongue.
That is tricky. He had to have a hard time.
We'll see a lot of other people from that dimension's names in this issue, and boy, I have no idea how to say those. Cartoon didn't really get into that. Although I did see some clips of his girlfriend on the show, and it was so good. Like she was smoking hot and she's kind of like a smoking hot redhead who always wants to have sex and stuff, and he's just so busy being like, I gotta kill Superman, he's tricked me again. He's like, I'm gonna go get Superman this time, and she's like, 5, 4, 3, and he's back and raving again.
So, but that's a different lady because in this issue he's marrying somebody. But
yeah. It turns out at the end, it's a bit of a twist, yeah.
Spoiler alert. So, alright, that's what we're reading here today. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 257. So I think we got 2 or 3 more this week. We're inching ever closer to 500. And if we do, Jank's going to make me read The Dark Knight every week for a month.
So everybody out there, just make a second YouTube account and, subscribe again, and then we'll be there. Please.
Yeah, that would help a lot. Also, don't forget my book Monkey Flip is out there about a chimp detective. So you'll love it. His name's very easy to pronounce. So, there's no real problems.
Yeah.
All right, so this issue, the reason we picked this is because last week we did Silver Surfer with Impossible Man, and you're like, hey, you know what? Let's do this Mr. Mxyzptlk because he's basically DC's version of Mr. Impossible. And I was like, yeah, but isn't he evil?
No, not a chance. You're like, no similarity whatsoever.
I know. I was like, there's nothing about them that's similar. There's none. And then, no, they're like the same character, basically.
Yeah, they really are. They're just kind of impish fellows, sent out to prank people.
Now, again, when I was a kid, I was under the impression that he was evil. And I guess in his early appearances, he was kind of more evil. And actually, he's kind of more evil in this than Impossible. Impossible Man never does anything to hurt someone,
Yeah, I mean, at least on that issue that we did last week, I would say.
But I'm sure him do it in the past?
Other appearances where trying to think if it's all just misunderstandings. I don't know.
Like this one, Mxyzptlk tried to murder, hundreds of people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's
I don't think Impossible Man would ever do that. Yeah. But we'll talk a little bit more about Impossible Man and his connection to Mr. Spitlick or whatever the hell his name is in a minute. But yeah, Mr. Mxyzptlk, his first appearance was Superman 96, 1955, created by Jerry Siegel and Ira Yarbrough. And he's from the Fifth Dimension. he got bored one day, so he started exploring other realities to experiment with lower life forms. And many of these life forms did not survive his often dangerous tests. See, that's why I think he was more evil early on.
Yeah.
Like, he was kind of a jerk.
Well, he's just a prankster that doesn't know where to stop, I feel.
Well, I think
he's not necessarily in it for the murder. He's just in it for, he's like Ashton Kutcher on Punk'd if he just didn't have any kind of compass.
I don't think many psychotic murderers, they're just having fun and people die, so I don't know. But he met his match in Superman and couldn't find a way to enrage or make him suffer, so he kept testing Superman with more dangerous and destructive traps. And the only way to get Mr. Mxyzptlk back to the fifth dimension is to trick him into saying or spelling his name backwards. And that banishes him back to the fifth dimension for 90 days. Now, would you care to pronounce his name backwards?
I'm not even going to attempt it now.
Yeah.
A fool there.
Cliplizixum. I don't know, but yeah. Somehow he does that though. He tricks him into saying it backwards a lot. Yep. So I don't know.
I remember specifically one episode of the cartoon show. I actually remember this in my head. I think Superman tricked him into turning into like a jet that was leaving like smoke signals behind it. So and then he made him fly in the pattern that spelled it out backwards. So it was like spelled in smoke.
That's not convoluted at all.
Yeah.
Anything else about this Mr. Mxyzptlk? Yeah, he's a little impish fellow with gray hair that sticks out to the sides and he's bald head. And he's usually wearing a little purple derby and he's got a little yellow outfit and purple boots and stuff. And he looks like a little elf. So.
Yeah. Him and Impossible Man like the color purple, clearly.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the similarities here because in Superman issue 50, and this was the newer Superman, the reboot that John Byrne did, And,
sure.
Well, actually, Byrne brought Mr. Mxyzptlk into that series, I believe, with issue 11, and he had him playing a guy named Ben DeRoy, and he just comes in right away and starts flirting with Lois Lane, and Lois is smitten with him, and she blows off Clark Kent to go to lunch with this fella. And he depicts him drawn basically like the Beyonder from Secret Wars 2. And that's why Ben DeRoy is like an anagram of Beyonder. And
that makes sense.
So that's kind of like his first indication that he might be a connection to the Marvel Universe, although that could have just been laughed off as a little joke. But then with issue 50, I think this was Jerry Ordway was writing it, or no, I think so. I don't know. I can't remember who was writing it at this point. It doesn't matter. But in Superman 50, Mr. Mxyzptlk is seen tormenting a superhero team that is clearly the Fantastic Four. He just makes references to them being his new Fantastic Friends, but you don't see every time you see them, they're from the waist down and they're just wearing, you can see the blue outfits and everything, So it's the Fantastic Four, but they don't come out and say it. But
legally distinct just enough.
So he's tormenting them, and during this, while this is going on, he goes, "Oh, I forgot you. I changed the way I looked, depending on what reality I am, and you guys don't know me. So here," and he pops into Impossible Man, but he's purple with a green outfit instead of green with a purple outfit, but he looks the same, and he has the distinctive popping noise when he changes. So
now I'll pop up.
Yeah, pop it in. So they're saying, they're making a little joke that he's the same character in both universes, but depending on where he is, that's how he looks.
I could totally buy that. Yeah. If he's that big, he's committed to pranking so much, he could just pretend to have different rules in different realities.
Now that takes a bit of a hit though. In 1996, there was a Silver Surfer Superman one-shot crossover. I had no idea this existed.
Yeah. Marvel did a lot of those in the mid-90s. And they had the whole amalgam comics where they mixed a bunch of characters together, and there was all kind of stuff going on.
This was written by George Perez, and it was drawn by our buddy Ron Lim from last week. And basically, Impossible Man and Mr. Mxyzptlk are hanging out, and they're bored, so they decide to swap partners. Like a swingers party.
Wife swap, yeah.
So Impossible Man starts tormenting Superman, and Mr. Mxyzptlk torments Silver Surfer. And at one point in that issue, they get mad at each other, and they start to fight each other. And like Impossible Man turns into the Hulk because he's green and purple, so that's a perfect match. And Mr. Mxyzptlk turns into Doomsday, and they're duking it out.
Nice.
But then they change into different people too, like Wolverine and Wonder Woman and a whole bunch of different people. So,
I mean, that doesn't mean anything definitively. I mean, they clearly come from a race that everyone can probably shapeshift. So, they could have one of his buddies pretending to be the other one.
well, there's a loophole. I guess they say like his race is a hive mind or something. So there can be different like extensions of the same being, basically.
Okay.
So,
like the Borg.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So people debate whether, they try to explain it either way. Now, Impossible Man, it would seem like this Mr. Mxyzptlk, I would say he's more powerful than Impossible Man, right? Just by...
Yeah. Judging by what we've seen, I would say yeah.
Because he can make magic that can... But I guess, I don't know, some people were saying Impossible Man.
Impossible Man was only just transforming himself, essentially.
Yeah,
really
that's what...
Else.
Yeah, where Mr. Mxyzptlk... But then I read someone, because they were debating this, all the nerds debate this stuff on message boards and everything. And I saw someone say, yeah, but Impossible Man can warp reality, too. So I don't know. I'm not as up on my impish guys as I should be.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd have to look into that whole era where you said Impossible Man was like a regular in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I think 175 to 195, I think. Is the issues. But yeah, so there it is. So a lot of people think they are the same character, just in different universes. And that's pretty cool that the two companies would do that, so it's pretty fun.
I like that. It's really cool.
Anything else about Mr. Mxyzptlk you would like to bring up?
You know what? I do remember they did try to do a Mr. Mxyzptlk episode of Smallville.
Okay, wait a minute, because I saw a picture when I was looking for pictures of Mr. Mxyzptlk for the video.
Yeah.
I saw some white dude, like a younger guy, with his hair just pushed up on the sides. He looks so stupid.
Yeah.
They were
very afraid to do the more outlandish characters on that show, so they just kind of had him be like a weird European, foreign exchange student who liked gambling on college football games. So he would use his powers to manipulate the outcomes of the football games to bet on them.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was not good.
But when you have a character with such a distinctive look, why would you not use that look?
Yeah. I guess that didn't fit in with their whole. This is the high school years of Superman. You can't have just weird old man just pop.
Oh, that's true. Right. Yeah, I've never seen Smallville, so I don't know. But I guess if it is a high school situation, then yeah.
Yeah.
He could have been the weird science teacher or something.
Oh yeah, that would have been good. They had a lot of weird teachers every week.
All right, well, let's, the creators here are Martin Pasco and Kurt Swan. We've talked about them both in the past, but Kurt Swan is like the most legendary Superman artist ever, so.
Yeah, he did it forever.
Yeah, we did all the stats one time on an episode with Mike.
I think I was here for that when we did that, when he did the first, Mike L was claiming it as the first Bronze Age comic.
Oh yeah, that's right. And it wasn't.
Superman was,
Mike
became a news reporter.
Mike L loves his Superman. Yeah, he did thousands and thousands, and it's crazy what he did. So, they're the creators here, and then the cover was drawn by our buddy Ross Andrew.
Yeah.
And fame. Although I think this is a terrible cover. Why don't you break it down?
Not the best. Okay, so we got the all new DC up there in the corner. The other corner is now 40 cents, which is still a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that right now in a heartbeat. And above the title it says, Mr. Mxyzptlk, the mad magic maker from the fifth dimension, does the last thing you'd expect in his running feud with Superman. And that says, then we have, he's kind of shooting a beam at Superman's face. He says, look, Superman, I turned the Daily Planet into a real newspaper building. So imagine what my powers can do to you. And he's zapping Superman right in the face. And we don't see Superman's face in this. It's very covered. Even though there is something up with his face, but Mr. Mxyzptlk has nothing to actually do with that, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a bit of a mislead. But then behind we got the Daily Planet, and it is now, in fact, actually made out of newspaper. So, that's problematic.
Yeah, this is just seconds before it collapses and all the people inside die.
Yeah, it's already starting to tilt.
Yeah, but yeah, Mxyzptlk, his powers are magic based, and that is Superman's one weakness, right? Magic, besides kryptonite.
Yeah, I guess he's not necessarily weak to it, but he's still vulnerable to it, like most people would be.
Okay. Yeah, you know what else he's vulnerable to? Space lizards.
Yeah,
That's what he learned in this issue.
Turns out he's not a good pet owner.
But yeah, I don't like this cover just because you don't see the hero's face at all. And
well, I get it. They're trying to keep that hidden for what's coming.
But I don't get it because it's revealed on the very first page of the issue. So why not just put it on the cover? Because it would sell more books, don't you think? If you see Superman looking like a big lizard, wouldn't you be like, oh, I'd like to read this. Why is he looking like a big lizard? But
I wonder if they were too afraid. Like that seems more Golden Age, like the goofy. Now Superman's a baby and all those weird.
This whole issue reads like it was from the 1940s. Yeah. The plot and the characterizations are so dumb. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I love that. It was so stupid that it made me laugh constantly.
Yes, I guess. Laughing at the stupidity of the story. But yeah, pretty terrible cover. I don't like it at all. So all right, here we go.
I mean, I'm not buying a comic based off of can I see Superman's face. I'm pretty sure I know what he looks like.
It's just so weird. Like why would you? I don't know. I'm not a fan. We've discussed this before whenever we have a cover where you just see the hero's back or something. Those rarely work. They rarely work.
Yeah.
I just think there's got to be a better way to compose this cover than to have Superman's back with us and you can't see his face. So, all right. Now we open it up and the first splash page, like I said, DC, they always did this thing where they'd show you a clip from later in the issue as their splash page. And again, we see Superman as a giant lizard flying next to Mxyzptlk, and he's next to the Daily Planet as a newspaper building. And the title of this is Mr. Mxyzptlk spelled backwards is Trouble. Trouble.
Yep.
So, how do you feel about Superman as a giant lizard?
It's not what I was expecting. I definitely thought that this would have something to do with Mr. Mxyzptlk, it was his work, but nope. Totally separate subplot going on here. Yeah, it's quite the look. Kind of looks like Koopa from Mario.
Just Superman's Nazi war experiments on alien life forms came back to bite him in the ass.
Sure did.
What happened here? So. All right, now we cut over to, I guess, Lois Lane's apartment, and I like how they're just lounging on the couch together. He's in a Superman outfit.
Yep. Because apparently she does not know that he is Clark Kent, so she's just dating Superman. And so he's got to stay in that costume probably all the time.
All right, it's also Valentine's Day, and but he's got his feet propped up on her coffee table. He's got his arm around her. She's nestled at his side, sipping a cup of tea. And right away, what does he start saying, Jack? This guy.
We go together well in so many ways. I only wish that it were possible for us to, she's like, what? Get married. But of course it isn't.
I know. What a jerk. Superman is the worst. It's Valentine's Day. There's a box of heart-shaped candy at his feet on the coffee table. He's holding it, the woman he loves, and he just rubs it in her face, and they can never get married.
Seems like a bad conversation to bring up. This seems to be a sore spot.
But he brings it up every time we read a story about Superman. He's bringing it up. Hey, Lois, I love you, but we can never get married.
Well, it seems like that Lois Lane issue said it seemed like every issue she was asking him if he would marry her. But here she was like, I don't even care about that. And he's the one who's like, no, I must give you superpowers so we can get married.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like she just doesn't want to talk about it, right? She's fine,
Yeah.
but
Like,
he
how
just
about you
keeps
just
bringing it
run me
up.
through and then we'll call it a night. He's like, no.
I must remind you yet again that I cannot marry you.
He's like, so you've told me so many times, in fact, that I almost don't care anymore. At this point, it's enough that we have a relationship at all. And he's just like, yeah, my enemies might get you. I love this part where she's like, oh, come on. That's always been a cop out and you know it. I don't have to be married to you to be in danger. Just loving you can be risky enough. In the past 3 years alone, I've been kidnapped 17 times, shot at an average of twice a month, and been the victim of various other kinds of murder attempts on no less than 38 separate occasions. I hope those are actual stats from this comic. Like they went back and counted them all.
I hope so, but yeah, that's awesome. That's great. But the problem is, like, it's very funny, but it makes Superman just look like a bigger idiot. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
it's kind of tough to like Superman when he's this big of a jerk. Oh man.
Yep. Seems like Lois is getting into plenty of scrapes all on her own.
And
although I guess
Lois,
the hard part is that it's only going to marry Superman. Like, then everyone's going to know. Like, you kind of have to tell her, like, hey, I'm Clark Kent. Maybe you can marry me, and you know.
Again, if she's too dumb to figure that out, like, I don't know.
Yeah, probably not a match made in heaven at that point.
But she kisses him, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, Superman. We'll be fine. Just having a relationship." And he's like, "No," and he just storms off. He flies out of the apartment, just jumps out of the window.
You think I don't realize that, Lois? Do you know how many times I've experimented to find a way to give you superpowers so you wouldn't be endangered? Too many to count. So he's just abducting hobos off the street and like experimenting on them in his fortress of solitude, apparently, and just having to kill all the failed experiments at the end, I guess.
These poor freaks and mutants that he creates. And she's like, Superman, wait, it is Valentine's Day, and I thought we were gonna, and he's like, no, I gotta go experiment on some lizards. I'll be back. And he flies out.
I mean, shouldn't you know, like, a bunch of other superheroes and supervillains. You know all their origin stories, I'm sure. You should know how to give people superpowers if you really want to.
All right, Lois.
You want her to be the Flash? Like, just get some lightning going and get some chemicals, and bam, you're done.
Here you go, Lois. Just stand there, Lois. Oh, you're struck by lightning repeatedly. It'll be okay. So now
come on.
Now we cut over to the fifth dimension, and this is the land of Zerf, Zrff, land of Zerf, and everyone in this dimension kind of looks like the little people from Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
They all have those little outfits on and stuff. And
kind of like they're dressed like people on the playing cards, like the Jacks and the Kings. And
Mxyzptlk, he's in trouble with the law, though, Jank, and because he like you say, he takes his pranking too far,
Yep.
And like
last week, he got in trouble with the whole race for making fun of their leader, and now
their queen.
Same thing here.
Yeah, so he, like everyone in this land, they all like pranks. They like having a good time, but hey, there's a limit. And he's been drawn up on charges, like what did they say, 27 times or something? 127th. This is your 127th offense. And do you remember what he did this time? I think he turned the mayor's children into chickens.
Oh yeah. That's right.
So he's going to go on trial for that, and he can't go on trial because he's going to be marrying a smoking hot lady tomorrow.
Yeah,
and
who totally lives here when everyone else is a very tiny, bald, balding person.
She's sure a statuesque brunette.
Happens to live there, and happens to be of the same race as the rest of these people.
His bride to be is Ms. Big Bosoms. Big Bosoms? Big Bosoms. BGBZNZ. So, I don't know.
Yep. I like where they're going with that, if that's what they were intending.
So, he goes to court, and the judge finds him guilty, and he is exiled from Zerf immediately. I hereby magically remand Mxyzptlk to the third dimensional world of Earth, there to remain unable to return until he atones for his misdeeds. So, poof, he pops up on Earth now. He's been sentenced to Earth. And he's going to miss his wedding unless he gets back.
Yep.
So now we cut to the Fortress of Solitude, again, which is a gimmick stolen from Doc Savage. But whatever, Superman. And what's Superman doing, Jay?
Well, he apparently happens to have a giant lizard in a cage there. It's from a red sun solar system, so he's like, this might be the answer. If I get some of this thing's blood and give it to Lois, that might give her superpowers.
Not this thing's blood, this thing's venom, right?
Oh, okay.
So that makes it even weirder. It could probably kill her.
Most venom is very toxic. I think that's kind of what it's designed for.
And my tests indicate that a serum made from its venom may give an Earth being superpowers. What kind of tests? How have you done these tests?
Yeah, I don't know.
Basement full of dead hobos. That's all we have down in Fortress of Solitude.
Has he tried his own blood yet? Like, maybe, Mike, if I just give Lois some of my blood, she'll be super. I'm from a red sun planet. That might be good enough.
And then clang, 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 his alarm starts going off. He goes, that bell, it's the alarm on my Earth monitor, which was probably picked up a police bulletin I should know about. Yes, Superman, there's a police bulletin somewhere in the world. It's very serious. You have to go. This is all preposterous.
Somewhere a crime is happening, yep.
Yeah.
But while Superman's paying attention to that, he's not watching his hand, and he gets a little too close to the giant lizard, and chomp.
Yeah, now, a couple things problems with this. How could a giant lizard break Superman's skin? Yeah.
Well, he's from a red sun planet, so he's got the same superpowers as Superman.
Okay, maybe. But Superman just kind of shakes it off, he doesn't. But yeah, he clearly clamps on his hand. But the other thing is, do you blame the lizard? I don't.
Oh. Yeah. What kind of tests has Superman been doing on him all this time?
And who's feeding this lizard while Superman's off gallivanting around with Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen?
I think he does have little robots going around doing stuff, keeping the place up.
His robot guards.
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Everyone likes Luthor just stumbling in by accident.
His alien internment camp. Yeah, he goes. All right, yeah. So he's like that lizard. He bit my hand. That's a little sound.
Don't have time to figure out what the effect of this is going to be, though. I got to get out there. There's work to be done.
He's like, don't know what the effect of the venom of the creature released into my system will have on me, but finding out has to wait. Right now, there's work to be done. So he goes back to we see Metropolis and we see Mr. Mxyzptlk popping into reality there, and he's recapping things.
He tries to say his own name to get back there backwards. He tries doing that backwards trick, and it doesn't work.
Because they cut back and the judge says, I'll teach that Mxyzptlk what's funny and what isn't once and for all. I put a magical spell on him as I banished him to Earth so that this time, not even saying his name backwards will bring him home. So,
yeah.
That. So now he's flying around. He says, hey, there's only one guy who can help me. That's that Superman guy. He could probably get me back to my dimension. So he's off looking for Superman. Meanwhile, that alarm that Superman heard, it's about a fire at
the weirdest toy factory I've ever seen.
Top of the toy box. And it's a giant skyscraper with like a top on the top of the building, like a spinning top.
Yeah.
They must be doing banner business to have a building this big.
Yes.
So.
To invest that kind of capital into a top like that, yeah.
Now, this is another thing I don't understand. So there's a fire at the top of the building. Superman goes down, and he starts collecting fire hoses from all these various fire trucks.
Yep.
And he melds them together with his heat vision so he can make a giant hose.
Yep, sure does. Checks out.
And then he takes the hose up top. Then he takes his cape off, wraps it around like the top thing,
Yeah, he's gonna set it spinning.
Yeah, yanks it real hard so it starts spinning. And then he hits it with the fire hose, and that creates a giant sprinkler system that puts the bottle or the building out. Now there's a lot of problems with this plan. Like, I don't care how many hoses you get, you still only have the one source of water. So would that be really strong enough to get all the way up to? We'll debate that later. But my big problem is why doesn't he just use a super breath and blow it out?
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Yeah,
that would make a lot more sense, I think.
But there's a lot about
putting
this.
in a lot of effort. Yeah.
A lot about this issue doesn't make a lot of sense.
Superman's supposed to have like a superior brain, but apparently not so much.
Hey, you know who else is a dummy? Mr. Mxyzptlk. Because, well, there's a flying helicopter from because I guess the Daily Planet, technically it's, he works at the WGBS News or something now, right? Like a TV station.
Yeah, some kind of TV station.
Yeah, they updated things. But, Mr. Mxyzptlk, he needs to find a way to get Soupy's attention. And he says, that helicopter up there gives me an idea. Now, keep in mind, this helicopter is covering the fire at the toy building. Superman is right there.
All you gotta do is yell out, "Hey, Superman!"
Yeah, hey, Superman, it's me, real funny, Mr. Mxyzptlk. But he doesn't do that. He waits until Superman flies away, and Superman goes back to the news building, the Galaxy Communications building, and he turns into Clark Kent there when he flies in. I guess he has his pants just sitting there, and he puts them on. And he's going to put his glasses, and all he notices is his left hand is now the hand of a lizard.
Oh, no.
That's not good, you know?
Who would have seen this coming? You wanted to give this to Lois. Like, that seems basic. Like, you get bitten by any kind of, like, lizard, you turn into a lizard. That's how this always goes in comics. You get bitten by, you get a lion's blood, and you can turn into a lion.
He's like, I can't let anyone see my hand. So he puts his left hand in his pocket, and here comes Lois Lane down the hallway, and she says, "Morning, Clark. Still hanging out in storerooms." I thought you were gotten over that.
With your hand in your pocket like a creep. Don't worry about it, Lois. Man's got to do what he's got to do.
And when Lois walks by, he's like, ordinarily, having to endure Lois's insults would irritate me, but right now, I'm too grateful for her to get mad at her. And he uses a
Superman.
He uses his low intensity burst of heat vision to snap the strap of her shoulder bag, and her purse spills all over the floor. And he's like, "Oh, let me help you with that, Lois." And what does he do, Jank?
Oh, I hope he buys her a new purse as Superman for Valentine's Day. But what he does here is he gets down there and he's like, "Oh, I'll pick everything up." Opens up her makeup and uses like super speed to like quickly put her face makeup onto his hand so it makes it look flesh colored now. Now he'll just have really, bumpy, scaly hand that's flesh colored, I guess. Got really
Thank God she carries a gallon worth of concealer in her purse. Scoop it off. And he does it with super speed.
Pointless because literally the next scene it's all spreading again. So this was completely pointless.
All right, let's take a little intermission from our Superman story.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this is Jack's favorite part of these old DC books. Hostess Twinkies ad. And
Wonder Woman.
Stars Wonder Woman. Yeah, I think we've had one other Wonder Woman, right? Wasn't she in that dopey
like the Maltese? Yep.
Yeah, that was terrible. And I gotta tell you, this one's pretty bad too. But,
this wasn't great, but it was better because at least it made sense. I didn't have nearly as many questions. Where like, why is this guy in trouble? He didn't do anything bad. But these people at least were crooks.
Take it away, Jank.
All right, so we got Wonder Woman in the Golden Treasure. I don't know what that golden treasure could be. I bet it's Twinkies cakes. So Wonder Woman's in her invisible jet there. Just flying around. The thieves have taken the golden treasure of Aphrodite, but they won't get away with it. I'm right behind them. And then she walks into like a cave, and she's like, "Oh, booby trap, a juvenile tactic." She's like blocking some bullets with her bracelets, like she does. And then she's just laying there on the floor, and the two You really do a good job fighting off bullets, Wonder Woman. Yeah, she was so busy with them, she didn't see the stun ray. Smart, boss. So yeah, I guess the other was stun ray.
Yeah, you know who else never saw this stun ray? Everyone. No one else
limited
saw
panels here.
Well, you might want to save one of those panels for, the stun ray. Let's do that.
Gotta save space for the Twinkies that are drawn in the corner, in the bottom corner.
Maybe just have her walk in the cave and get hit by the stun ray right away. Like, just make it the thing. Bang, she got hit by the stun ray. Yeah. I don't know. All right, go ahead.
But then the boss guy, he's like, he notices she's got this big yellow like sack on her belt. Apparently it's not Elastic Man this time or whatever.
Plastic Man.
Yeah. Your lasso. He takes the sack and he's like, "What's hidden in this sack, gorgeous? Some treasure we missed? Nice of her to bring us something, huh? It's gold, all right. Golden sponge cake. Delicious. Hey, Hostess Twinkies cakes. I'd know that taste anywhere. Great cream filling, too."
That guy kind of looks like Dick Cheney, but without glasses. Anyway.
I guess that guy would have gotten shot by those bullets if that was Dick Cheney.
There's a whole story behind that, too, by the way. I'll say that for the conspiracy angle, but all right, go ahead.
And while they're, eating the Twinkies cakes, Wonder Woman's getting the lasso of truth around them, tying them up. And they're pretty okay with it because they're in the invisible jet in the next scene, just like, I guess we better enjoy these golden bars of Twinkies cakes while we can. And the other guy's like, Wonder Woman says, prison bars will soon take their place, and the golden treasure of Aphrodite goes back to its rightful owner. And then we get to the catchphrase, you get a big delight in every bite of Hostess Twinkies cakes.
What a tale.
Well, that ends well.
Yeah, if you sign up for my author newsletter, list.19books.com, maybe next week in the Conspiracy Corner, we'll talk about the story behind Dick Cheney shooting that guy in the face.
Sweet.
Anyway, now here's a question, though, about this Wonder Woman. Because when I was a kid, she always had that invisible jet,
Mm-hmm.
And it's the dumbest thing I ever. Because, she can still...
She is not invisible.
Yes. Yeah. She's sitting in the clouds, zipping around. But then, now it seems like she can fly on her own now.
Yeah, I've definitely seen versions that do that, where she can fly by herself.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I don't remember her ever flying by herself.
Yeah, definitely they wouldn't have done that in the 70s show. It's like, that cost too much money.
Oh, speaking of which, we get a good shot of Linda Carter later in this issue.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah, so let's hurry up and get there. All right, so next we're back to Mr. Mxyzptlk, and he's that news helicopter. And I guess Lana works at the news station, too, Superman's old flame.
Yeah,
Lana.
I didn't realize that, yeah.
Or Clark Kent's old flame.
Yeah, who knew?
But he says helicopters are sometimes called egg beaters here on Earth, which seems pretty silly to me. Yeah, it's silly, all right. And then he turns it into a giant egg beater, and the pilot and Lana are now clinging to an egg beater in the sky.
Yeah. He seems to know a lot about Earth slang to know that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like he's there enough to know that kind of stuff, but okay.
So they hear a scream outside, and that Lana can really scream. So she's like, I better check it out. And of course, Clark ducks into the old broom closet again. And now he's changing to Superman.
Just in time, because he's going full lizard now.
His whole body from the neck down, he's all lizard.
Yep. There's a nice shot of him, pulling his underpants out, taking a look down, and be like, "Oh no, I've got a lizard dick."
Little Superman's scaly too. So he goes zipping out of
pleasure.
He goes zipping out of the building, and now the right side of his face is starting to turn into a lizard, and he's having trouble hearing things now. His super hearing's wonking out on him.
Yeah,
he's a lizard.
He turned into a lizard, and he doesn't have ears anymore, apparently.
But he sees the giant egg beater in the sky there, and he just zips around him, and he just flies around him so fast. I didn't understand this either. Why didn't he just physically pick them up?
Yeah.
He flies past them so fast, they get sucked up into his jet stream, and then he flies around in a circle to gently lower them down to the ground. I guess he didn't want them to see he's a lizard, but I mean, you're so fast, Superman, I don't think they would notice.
Yeah. There's only 2 of them. It's not like you got that many people to carry. You can carry 2.
Yeah. So, they're trying to figure out what happened, and they're like, oh, she says, oh, we're being saved, loved by Superman. He pulled us off that giant what's this with super suction. Super suction. Shazam was big on super friction. Superman is big. Super suction.
Super suction.
And here we get an ad for a juicy what is this gum?
Fruit Strikes gum. Yeah.
That was always
so good
time.
for like the first 30 seconds, and then just nothing. No flavor at all.
And then how would you like to come to New York City and become a character in Wonder Woman's comic? Just tell us what daring rescue you would like to see Wonder Woman perform on her CBS television series and win one of these fabulous prizes. Yeah, and then we get a black and white shot of Linda Carter in her Wonder Woman outfit. Holy hell. Look at that.
Yeah.
So.
I'm going to retroactively write in that I want to see her save the Maltese cupcake. Such a good story.
So we get some more ads here, and then we're back to our story, and Mr. Mxyzptlk notices Superman. Now, he notices Superman is now a giant lizard flying at him. And, I guess his face isn't completely lizardish yet, but he's looking at him and he sees he's clearly having some issues, and he's talking to him normally for 2 panels. Then he goes, hey, you should look at your face. And he says, what do you mean my face? So Mr. Mxyzptlk just pulls out a mirror from his pocket or whatever, this giant mirror, and he looks at Superman. Now, how would you describe Superman? Because he's not fully lizard yet.
Well, I mean, he is, except he still has his hair. He's still got the hair at this point.
But he doesn't have the big snout yet on his face. His face is still kind of human-y. But he looks...
Yeah, it's not as snouty as it will be later on, but it's definitely on its way to Snout Town.
It kind of looks like Tom Bosley mixed with a lizard for you. Mr. C, Mr. Cunningham.
Yeah.
So they're talking for a little bit, and as they're talking, his face gets more and more lizard-like. But he's saying, hey, Superman, I need you to put me back in my dimension, so, I got to get back there. And Superman's like, hey, well, I could use some help turning back to normal, so why don't you turn me back to normal? Now, this is another thing that I just do not understand, Jane. Mxyzptlk says, no, because if I change you back to normal, you may not help me get back to my dimension. Why wouldn't he? He doesn't want you here.
Yeah. He's always trying to get rid of you.
Yes.
Yep. Every time you're here, he tricks you into going back.
So just put him back to his normal self and it'll help you. Do you think Superman's going to lie to you? Hey, Superman.
You should know by now he's very square-jawed. He's not going to help you do bad things, but get back to your home, I think he wants that just as much as you.
So that's why this whole idea makes no sense. But anyway, so they have this standoff, like neither one is going to help the other. And what is Mr. Mxyzptlk? What does he say? Like, this is when he turns the building into newspapers, right? He's like,
yeah.
What's his reasoning here to do this? Because he says,
for openers, I've never liked what they did to the old Daily Planet building, turning it into Galaxy Broadcasting building. I liked it better when it was a newspaper building. Alligarumpus.
Alligarumpus. You do a good Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Trying to channel some Gilbert.
And so, yeah, but what's his reasoning to turn? Like, he says, I'm going to do worse things to this city than ever before until you give in. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So he turns the building into newspapers, and of course, it's just, there's people, hundreds of people are working in this building, and it just starts to collapse. And he very nearly killed hundreds of people, including Lois Lane.
Lois and Jimmy and Perry.
So Superman, now he can't catch hundreds of people at one time, so now he does the same trick as earlier where he flies around real fast, creates super suction or whatever.
He's a real one-trick pony. That's how he puts out the fire. That's how he saves them earlier. That's how he saves this.
He's supporting hundreds of people in this updraft to him flying around, and then he gently lowers them down to a roof or the ground or whatever. And then he goes flying back to Mr. Mxyzptlk, and he is pissed.
Yeah. He is not having any of this.
Yeah, that was some funny prank, wasn't it? A newspaper building. Get it? Funny, huh? And Superman tries to take a swing at him and misses, and he, punches some bricks off a building. And he says, no, it wasn't funny, not at all, not even remotely amusing. Every person in that building could have been killed. And Mxyzptlk is still
you
like,
could have even killed the woman I love. And then Lois is laying on the ground looking dead. And Superman really doesn't seem to care that much.
She looks good, though. She looks good.
Yeah.
But she does look dead. And, so Superman's acting very angry, and he says he's going to murder Mr. Mxyzptlk. But
I tear you apart.
And he is very scared. But Superman's thinking to himself, good, he's buying it. Either he's forgotten about my code against killing, or I must be giving an Academy Award performance. I hate Superman so much. He's just... He's so stupid. All right, then Mxyzptlk says, "Okay, don't hurt me or whatever. I'll do what I can to help you, change back." So he uses his. Oh, before he does that, though, Superman tricks him again. How does he trick him again, Jack?
So he says, let's see,
because Mr. Mxyzptlk says, "I got to get home in time because because he says he's mad about Lois. And he goes, well, I'm mad about a lady, too. I got to get back and I'm getting married tomorrow.
Yeah, getting married tomorrow. Babbling the infernal imp explains his predicament, describing his beloved Miss Biggins.
Miss Big
So I just have to get back, understand? Yes, I can see her. I've trained my supervision on Zerf, and she is lovely. And she's, oh no, that's horrible. What? Why? She's crossing the street. She's about to be hit by a car. And Mr. Mxyzptlk, he's very worried now. He's like, but then Superman's like, I can't help her because, my powers are fading because I'm a lizard man. So, you're kind of screwed here. And so Mr. Mxyzptlk, then he's like, all right, I'll do it. And he turns Superman back.
But of all the stupid things that Superman could say in this situation, first of all, he can see into the fifth dimension. Come on, Superman.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other thing, she's about to get hit by a car, and then they continue talking for minutes. This is the slowest car ever that is going to hit this woman. And why do they have cars on Zerf? And they all fly around.
She is tying her shoe in the middle of the street for a long time, and this truck is just on a collision course with her.
So Mxyzptlk says, okay, I'll turn you back. So he uses his magic, and he turns Superman back to his normal self. What a guy.
Superman's like, I may as well tell you now. Your girlfriend's perfectly safe for all I know. You see, I never saw her in Zerf, and my supervision had already conked out. Oh, yeah, Mr. Mxyzptlk's not happy that he got tricked.
Yeah.
But he does poof right back to Zerf, because it turns out the spell was just so that he would do a good deed, and once he did that, then he would get to go back home, and all would be well again.
And right before he goes back, Superman says, that's right, what's the matter? Can't you take a joke? So, doing the old switcheroo. But it really wasn't much of a joke telling someone that their wife or future wife is about to be murdered by a...
Yeah, when Mr. Mxyzptlk comes back, he's got a grudge against him for sure.
Now we see Superman and Lois on top of a building, and they're standing arm in arm, and they're hugging each other. And does he rub it in her face again that he can't marry her? What does he say here?
I think he's just like, oh, my latest experiment didn't work out. I'm so sorry. Well, I'll keep trying. Or he says, I'm a little gun shy about attempting another. I've also run out of hobos to murder. So until I can find a new crop, maybe I'll start looking in Gotham. Start taking them from there.
And she says, of course I understand, silly, but like I said before, I don't care. Really, I don't.
Yeah, I think I'm getting a new purse. Now that my strap broke.
But I think Lois is about ready to get out of this relationship. She's rocking the pop machine back and forth, and it's about to tip over. She's ready to go. She's like, I've had enough of this guy. I bet the Green Lantern wouldn't treat me like this.
Yep. He doesn't even care if his whole city gets destroyed. He just goes evil for a while.
Who would be a better match for? Well, I guess you could say Bruce Wayne, but he's weirdo too. I don't know. Who would be a better match for Lois Lane?
On Smallville, she definitely went through a couple of heroes. I feel like she had a great thing with Aquaman and Green Arrow.
With Aquaman. That's not good.
No.
But I got the winner, Detective Chimp.
No.
He's an upstanding fellow. All right. So we cut back to Zerf, and we see Mxyzptlk about to marry a smoking hot, statuesque brunette lady. Yeah. And once they get married, the little reverend or whoever says, "I now pronounce you imp and wife." And she's very excited, but what happens here, Jack?
Well, she says, "Oh, Mixie, darling, I know how much you love a good joke, giggle, so here's one you'll adore. I figured you'd never marry me if you saw what I really looked like. So I magically projected the image of me you proposed to. But now that we're hitched, I can show you my real self. This." And she looks like, one of the people from that planet, basically.
Very grumpy little lady. Yeah. And he says, "Yeah, no, that's not funny." And everyone in attendance is laughing at him. And they're like, "Mxyzptlk may have atoned for his misdeeds, but he still hasn't learned what's funny and what isn't. Or else he'd appreciate this fact that his wife's joke is a veritable work of art. Ha ha ha." And next issue, Superman battles the strangest superheroine of all, Rose and the Thorn.
Yeah, they're back again. It seems like a very mismatched battle right there.
Yes.
She's just kind of a lady who, was kind of good at fighting, I think, and maybe used a whip. Like, none of that's going to be any use against Superman.
Didn't she have little thorns on her belt that did, like, smoke bombs and stuff, I think, too?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But, we had no concept of Rose and Thorn, and now she keeps popping up. Like, it's about 3 or 4 times now, Rose and Thorn, so.
I kind of like Rose and Thorn from what I read it before.
Yeah. So, that's it. Superman 335. This is terrible. Yep. This is like, this is so bad. I know.
Oh.
I know you loved it, but it is just so dumb.
Everything with Superman and Lois just kept making me laugh. Like the fact that he tried to put makeup on his hand and it immediately was for nothing because it just became more lizardy like 2 seconds later. The fact that he just kept flying around things and trying to use super suction for everything. Like
it's tough because yes, if you view this as a bad like you're going in, like we like bad movies on the LCS Hockey radio show. So if you just appreciate it as a bad comic book, I guess it's kind of glorious.
Yeah, but, it's kind of like it's the Room of bad comics almost. Where you're just like, this is awful, but in a hilarious way.
But if you care about things like logic and plotting and characterization and things like that, it is a train wreck. But but I can understand why. Like, if this is what Superman was doing on a monthly basis in 1979, like, how did he ever get a movie made? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
Just terrible stuff. And Batman was super lame during this time, too.
I mean, it was better than this, I feel like.
I don't know, man. Batman was rough at this time. He was rough. But, I don't know. Yeah, who do I hate more, Batman or Superman? That's a tough call.
Oh. I love Batman. I definitely tolerate Superman.
I love old school Superman, George Reeves, the old TV show. That's my Superman. Like,
okay.
Because he's just he's not a guy who can do anything he wants. He's like he's beating up gangsters, and
yeah.
He's not flying around the earth, reversing time and all that kind of bullshit.
Yeah. That's too much. I definitely don't like that where they just keep making up powers that they'll use once. And they're like, what are you doing?
Count the number of molecules and okay, whatever.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, that's too much. Or like, remember that John Byrne one where like if he has clothing that's within 2 inches of his skin, like it can't be torn. Like, what are you doing?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, remember that was like why his costume like doesn't rip or something. They were saying like, oh, because he's got some weird molecular thing over fabric that's near his skin. Like, what are you
I
doing?
thought, wasn't it just made from the blankets from a spaceship? So I thought it was
That would have made more sense.
Kryptonian cloth or whatever, you know?
Yeah, would have been nice, but
yeah, I like the Superman from Earth too because he's older, he's got gray on the temples, and he's not as powerful. They kind of like weaken him a little bit. I like that guy better. But,
sure.
So I don't know. All right, how do you rate this? On a normal comic book scale, it's a 1 out of 10.
Sure. Yeah,
so
I
bad.
can't argue with that. But on a bad comic scale,
Yeah.
I give it like a 9. Like, I highly enjoyed this. Like compared to this, like this or the Impossible Man issue we read, I like this so much more. Like I just had a fun time with this.
Yeah, that was a coherent story, and this is just nonsense. But yeah, there were so many ridiculous things in this. The keeping the space lizard, trying to give Lois superpowers, rubbing in her face that he's not going to marry her on Valentine's Day. The makeup
I love the
on the
weird
hand.
soap opera that is Superman and Lois in this time period. They just seem like the worst match ever.
So, all right, on the bad comic book scale, yeah, I mean, it's really bad. So I have to give it like at least an 8. So, yeah.
But it's enjoyably bad.
Just know what you're getting when you're going in. All right. It's,
yeah.
It's terrible.
This isn't a masterpiece or anything. You're not getting the Watchmen.
All right. So, next week, Jank reminded me, earlier, it was yesterday, all the days blend together. But you reminded me, hey, next time you pick an issue, it's Shocktober.
Yeah. October 1st.
Yeah, this is a grand tradition Mike L. started in the first year of Flea Market Fantasy where he picked horror comics or spooky comics during the month of October, and he called it Shocktober. And
right.
I think by year 3, I got roped into doing it too. And Jank's a big Shocktober fan, right, Jank? You love Shocktober.
Yeah, I look forward to it every year.
For the next month, it'll be nothing but horror and spooky comics or some connection to horror, you know.
Yeah. Could be superheroes, but they could be, you know, spookier.
Yeah. Spooky heroes. So, first up, for this month of Shocktober, we're going to go The Frankenstein Monster, issue 9 from 1973. This is Marvel Comics. They adapted the original Mary Shelley novel. And I think the first 3 issues basically retold the novel, and then everything after that in the ongoing series were new adventures for Frankenstein's monster.
Sweet. I have seen the version of Frankenstein in other books, so I'll be curious to see how he kind of, you know, started out.
He wears his giant furry vest.
Yes.
Cool.
I like the furry vest. Very 70s.
In this issue, he fights Dracula. So it can't get more Shocktober than Frankenstein vs. Dracula.
No, that's pretty damn solid.
Yeah. And I think John Buscema is the artist, and I think Gary Friedrich is the writer. So we're very familiar with both of those fellows. So that'll be next week here in the first week of Shocktober. The Frankenstein Monster.
All right.
Issue 9. All right. So once again, thanks. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. So until next week, don't get any jank on you.